Gambia, Angola, China Holding, GASH, producers of the finest tomato paste in the Gambia. GIGA tomato paste, available in 5 kilos, 1 kilo and in sachets. For wholesale and retail, visit our factory at BANJUL. We are also producers of GIGA mineral water, cool, clear and fresh. GASH, Gambia, Angola, China Holding, with headquarters at Fatu Golden Plaza, Mile 7, Bertel Harding Highway. GASH Group also provides the best security company, GASH Security, for your offices, warehouses, homes and personal property. GASH Group for all your construction projects, offering you quality water reticulation for your gardens, pump irrigation, tidal irrigation projects and all types of buildings. You can contact GASH on 396-7894, 700-8993, 373-0259. Visit us at GASH Global Group on Bertel Harding Highway, Fatu Golden Plaza. Our website www.gashglobal.com. Gambia, Angola, China Holding, GASH.
It's a warm reception to our studio here in Serekunda. This is Star TV News with me, Maimuna Fadera. In the headlines tonight, National People's Party celebrates its first by-elections victory. President Barrow receives Kora's symphony. Wanept Gambia shares its findings on Nyamina West and Kerjarga Ward by-election. Forging machine launched for fumigation in Banjul. On the international scene, UN launched New Libya talks amid cautions optimism. Aung San Suu Kyi in line for second term as Myanmar votes counted. Georgia elections, protesters defy crackdown to call for a new poll. Well, those were the headlines, and now the news in details. Thousands of National People's Party militants, including President Adama Barrow, has on Monday gathered at the Arch in Banjul in welcoming elect MP for Nyamina West Biram JSO and elect local government councillor for Kerjarga Awagay, and celebrating their first ever by-election victory as they beat their political opponents in the polls on Saturday. Well, Maria Madam was at the celebration ceremony in Banjul, and she now reports.
As the celebration began at the Arch 22 in Banjul, different cultural groups displayed their best talent in both singing and dancing, while NPP militants shown excitement in welcoming and celebrating their newly born twins' first by-election victory, as this is the first time NPP contested in an election and Biram is their first member of parliament, thus Awagay, the first local government councillor. Both Biram and Awagay were declared winners of the by-elections in Nyamina West and Kerjarga Ward against their opponents on Saturday night by the IEC chairman Ali Mumornjai. In honor of the late National Assembly member Demba Sow of GDC, 1 minute silence was observed. The two winners, Awagay and Biram JS Sow, thanked the NPP camp and the president for the full support they have bestowed upon them throughout the elections process, saying it is through them they were able to come out victorious. They both appealed to the president to bring development to their various communities as they are really in need of it. The celebration being graced by cabinet ministers and other prominent Gambians, the leader of NRP and the Minister of Tourism, Hamad Nkeba, who also took part in the campaign, says President Barrow has demonstrated true leadership quality as they could not have emerged victory without his support. Honorable Ba, however, went on to emphasize for decent politics in the country.
Your commitment to the country, to the Republic of the Gambia, your supreme interest to this country shows you are a symbol of unity, you are a symbol of stability, you are a symbol of progress, and indeed you will steer this country for many years to come. You have been very supportive in this campaign. You have never wavered a minute or a second. You have been very dedicated to the cause of what we are celebrating here today. We could not have achieved what we achieved without your overwhelming support. It shows you are a true partner and a true leader that we can work with as a nation. You are full of discipline and respect. And that's the message that Gambians want to hear. We need decent politics. Politics of issues. Politics of development, which you have represented, which you have shown the whole world. You have set a record in the Gambia.
Ba further urges politicians to desist from dirty politics of insults and character assassination and asks ministers to rally behind Barrow if they want to stay in their ministerial positions because they gain their positions through politics.
I therefore want to reiterate my position. If you want to continue to be a minister, you must be a politician. This victory is brought by the politician. Without this victory, we would not have been here today. Every cabinet minister must be ready to be on the campaign trail. If you are not here, we will not be here. None of us will be here. Therefore, there is nothing like technocrat minister. There is nothing like any other minister. All ministers are political offices that you have delegated responsibilities and they must all be ready to serve your government.
Hamad Ba noted that this victory is meant to energize the NPP camp for the upcoming 2021 presidential election. An excited President Adama Barrow during the NPP's victory celebration says this victory has become part of the Gambia's history of NPP defeating the biggest political parties in the country. Political leaders can only claim ownership of their parties but not that of the Gambian people, Barrow said. As President Barrow congratulated both our Gay and Birom J.S. Shaw for imagined victory, he advised Birom to be fearless and always remember that he is representing the entire Gambian people in the National Assembly and he should do his job in the best interest of the people. Barrow also congratulated all the opposition candidates who took part in the by-elections, saying that they all contested for the interest of the Gambian people. Barrow, however, gifted a brand new Toyota pickup to the newly elected National Assembly member, Birom J.S. Shaw. Reporting for Star TV News, I am Mariama Dem.
On Saturday, the President of the Republic, His Excellency President Adama Barrow, received a group called the Kora Symphony at the State House. The group professed support and loyalty to the President. Jacqueline Colley tells us more.
The group called on the President to express support and solidarity to his development agenda. The group consists of Kora musicians and guerrillas, including Jali, the king of Kora. The group showed the President's support and are sure to be involved in any national development endeavor. Jali, the Secretary General of the Symphony, said the group was established in 2006 to give prominence to Kora. He said the Kora was played 300 years ago and will continue to be played in the next 100 years to come. Jali Nyalleh, the president of the group, said it is important. It is an opportunity to protest their support to the President and his government. As guerrillas, he said, they are customary to support anyone in power and therefore decided to do the same with the President. He added that the Kora Symphony is solely behind the President and won't trade him for anything. Sheikh Omar Faye, Minister of Defense, commended the group for the unprecedented move and urged them to use the Kora to promote the culture and custom of the people, and most of all, promote peace. The President, His Excellency Adama Barrow, described the meeting as important, saying the traditional guerrillas are indispensable in society. He thanked them for the noble gesture to associate with him and his government in development endeavors. He said guerrillas have a role to play in developing the country, not only the government. President Barrow extended his invitation to the group to grace the highly anticipated laying of a foundation stone in Salem and promised to give them all the necessary needs. Jacqueline Colley, reporting for Star TV News.
The West African Network for Peace Building, WANEP, in partnership with the CSO Coalition on Elections, on Monday presided over a press briefing meant to present their preliminary report on their finding about the Namina West and Kerjarga ward. The briefing was held at the Tango Conference Hall in Kanifing. Moto El Baji reports.
The Nyamina West by-election was as a result of the demise of their National Assembly member, Demba Sow, who was battling a serious illness which resulted to his death. However, the Independent Electoral Commission organized a by-election for the people of Nyamina, which was held on the 7th of December 2020. WANEP Gambia and its CSOs presented their preliminary reports and observations on the outcome of the by-election. Momodu Ba is the program officer of WANEP Gambia. He spelled out the findings they made during the by-elections.
The nomination process was peaceful and calm with no incidents of violence observed. Aspiring candidates were vetted by the Independent Electoral Commission as prescribed by Section 42 of the Elections Act to ascertain their eligibility to contest the elections. The campaign was generally peaceful, and political parties and candidates were able to exercise their right to assembly and association without restriction. Political parties and candidates adopted various campaign strategies, including rallies and the use of posters in adherence to the election code of conduct.
Ba made some recommendations to the relevant stakeholders in order to avoid violence in the 2021 presidential election. He also added that the use of public assets during campaign has to be the thing of the past.
Observation of voting on election day in both Nyamina West constituency and Kerjarga ward. The CSO coalition wishes to state that the election was free and transparent. This is because electorates were able to cast their ballots without any force. No electorate was prevented to cast his or her ballot, while no one faced any reprisal after casting his or her ballot. However, given the overwhelming presence of government officials in the campaign and on the election day in favor of the NPP candidate, we wish to state that the fairness of the election was undermined. Such large official presence in a local election served to provide undue advantage to the one candidate against the other. That notwithstanding, the CSO coalition maintains that the election in both places reflected the will of the people. Concerns. There are growing concerns as to whether the conduct and outcomes of future elections will consolidate or endanger the country's fragile peace. Issues of concerns include post-electoral tensions. For example, in Nyamina Katamina, tensions flared after the counting of the ballots. The presence of government ministers and public officials, such as presidential advisors in Nyamina West constituency, had put great pressure on the electorates, hence provide undue advantage to the NPP candidate. As a by-election in a remote locality, the CSO coalition holds that the election must be left to only the parties and candidates to handle. By bringing in a huge army of public officials with attendant resources, it meant the NPP candidate has obtained huge advantage that would have significantly influenced voters.
A team of 6 long-term observers, community conflict monitors, 4 were deployed in Nyamina West and 2 in Kerjarga to monitor the pre-election context, including the nomination process, the campaign period. On polling day, a total of 11 accredited observers, 3 were deployed in Kerjarga and 9 in Nyamina West to observe the opening, voting, closing and counting of the electoral results. Reporting for Star TV, I am Modu Elbaji.
Banjul City Council, under the leadership of the mayoress, launched forging machine for the fumigation of the country, starting from Banjul, in order to eliminate malaria and improve the standard of health in the country. Our SANNEH reports.
The machines will be used to spray the city of Banjul and other towns and villages in the country to get rid of mosquitoes and other flying insects. Dr. Ahmad Lamin Samate, the Minister of Health, says they knew the mortality and morbidity that is caused by malaria in our community.
Malaria is responsible for a lot of deaths in the Gambia, both in children and in adults. Of recent, we have seen a spike in the incidence of malaria across the length and breadth of this country, which is usual after heavy rains. And you can all attest that this year the rains have been very heavy, which led to high yield in crop production, but it has another side effect, that is proliferation and more procreation of mosquitoes, thereby increasing the incidence of malaria.
Dr. Samate added that malaria is a very important disease that needs to be tackled, and the ministry is working very hard to eliminate it from the source of this country. But first, they want to complement the effort of the government to deal with the vectors. He also said, whatever you do for your country must come back to you, and it adds to improve the standard of living, as Gambia needs to get better health sectors, road, cities, water supplies and electricity, which should be done by the citizens. The people of this country deserve high standard of living. He assured the peoples that public health is going to be at the forefront of the strive of the government to provide quality healthcare service for the citizens. The minister stressed that health inspectors will soon start inspecting every corner of the state to make sure that all cities are clean and functional.
And this machine is equally very important for fumigation for COVID. So it came at the right time. Because when we developed the concept of this machine, there was no COVID in those days. In fact, we thought of the malaria first. And then we started looking for this machine. Then COVID came, but it is equally going to be very useful for fumigation against COVID.
The Deputy Mayor of Banjul City Council, Honorable Mbaye Toure, thanked the Ministry of Health for their wonderful effort for the well-being of the people's health.
And we expect more from the government to help us to make sure we rectify all this stagnant water, because malaria always have powers in these stagnant waters. And we are very vulnerable in Banjul here. We have our gutters, and where the gutters are is the way where we sit our voos. But now, thank God, we are rectifying all those things. Thank you, Minister. On behalf of the government, we are saying a big thank you to the government through you.
He further said that the people of Banjul are very happy for having the fogging machine to be used to fumigate the city, which will be easy because the streets are demarcating and they will like to have more of this. Reporting for Star TV News, I am SANNEH.
Well, those were the local stories. We'll be back with the international news after the short commercial break. Please stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Gambia, Angola, China Holding, GASH, producers of the finest tomato paste in the Gambia. GIGA tomato paste, available in 5 kilos, 1 kilo and in sachets. For wholesale and retail, visit our factory at BANJUL. We are also producers of GIGA mineral water, cool, clear and fresh. GASH, Gambia, Angola, China Holding, with headquarters at Fatu Golden Plaza, Mile 7, Bertel Harding Highway. GASH Group also provides the best security company, GASH Security, for your offices, warehouses, homes and personal property. GASH Group for all your construction projects, offering you quality water reticulation for your gardens, pump irrigation, tidal irrigation projects and all types of buildings. You can contact GASH on 396-7894, 700-8993, 373-0259. Visit us at GASH Global Group on Bertel Harding Highway, Fatu Golden Plaza. Our website www.gashglobal.com. Gambia, Angola, China Holding, GASH.
Welcome back. After the short commercial break, we now look at the news beyond our borders. UN launched new Libya talks amid cautious optimism. The latest round of Libyan peace talks is underway in the neighboring Tunisia. The aim of the political dialogue is for elections to take place as soon as possible. Al Jazeera's Claire Harriot reports from Tunis.
The United Nations has invited 75 delegates from Libya, chosen to represent an array of political viewpoints, regional interests and social groups. They've gathered here in Tunis to find a way forward. The acting UN envoy, Stephanie Williams, is clear on the aim of the talks.
In Tunis, we are going to work with the 75 participants on the roadmap going forward, the political roadmap going forward, with the key objective being the scheduling of national elections.
Cycles of violence for nearly a decade after the tribes and groups which brought down Muammar Gaddafi turned on each other. And it has morphed into a conflict in which regional and global rivalries are being played out. Libya has had two rival administrations for years, with the UN recognising the government in Tripoli and the warlord Khalifa Haftar leading his forces in the east.
Last month, Libya's domestic warring sides agreed to a permanent ceasefire. Such deals have failed in the past to stop the fighting, but the UN says the military officers have shown a sense of duty and responsibility, and so it hopes for the same from the 75 delegates involved in the political talks here in Tunis.
Their host, Tunisian President Kais Saied, said it was imperative Libya remain a unified nation.
Libya's unified nation. Some people talk of Western and Eastern Libya, but we tell them that Libyans are one people. This kind of rhetoric could lead to the division of Libya. The Tunisian people refuse this because they know that all Libyans refuse it too. It's a danger on the region as a whole, as it could open the door to division in other neighbouring nations.
With Libya already desperate for normalcy, the global pandemic has made worse the situation. In the words of the UN envoy, COVID-19 has colluded with conflict. Libya is geographically nearby, but a world away from the grandeur of this luxury hotel in Tunis, where, in the next 6 days, 75 delegates will attempt to chart its political future. Claire Heriot, Al Jazeera, Tunis.
Aung San Suu Kyi in line for second term as Myanmar votes counted. In Myanmar, Aung San Suu Kyi's National League for Democracy party has announced it has won enough seats for the form the next government. Although official results have yet to be released, the governing party says its numbers point to another landslide victory. Al Jazeera's Ali Fowley reports from Yangon, Myanmar.
Myanmar's governing National League for Democracy party, led by Aung San Suu Kyi, has claimed another landslide victory in general elections. Official results are yet to be released, but the NLD says it's confident it has won enough seats to be able to form a new government.
I'm so happy and thrilled that NLD has won. I believe our mother Sue will make the best situation for our country.
I voted for NLD because I want the best for my country.
I hope all newly elected candidates will listen to the ordinary citizens who voted for them.
Celebrations began soon after polls closed. Despite pleas from the government to return home, a sea of supporters clad in red put aside their fears about the pandemic and gathered to show support for the governing party. Despite widespread vote cancellation in ethnic areas and speculation that COVID-19 would keep people away from the polls, the turnout on election day was high.
Voting is still new in Myanmar. For most voters, this is only the second time in their lives that they've had a chance to vote for the party of their choice. And so people don't take this for granted. Even if they feel that the NLD is going to win in their constituency, they still want to get out there to demonstrate their support, to do their civic duty, and I think there was an overwhelming sense of that.
And for the NLD, it looks like enthusiasm for the vote has been reflected in the result.
25% of the seats in Myanmar's parliament are reserved for the military. So that means that the NLD needed 2/3 of the seats being contested in this election in order to gain enough power to choose the president, who then in turn will form the government.
Although the NLD was widely expected to win, there was a question about whether it would gain enough seats to meet that threshold. But it seems the party has exceeded expectations. Ali Fowl, Al Jazeera, Yangon.
Georgia elections, protesters defy crackdown to call for a new poll. Georgia's opposition supporters continue to protest against the results of last month's parliamentary election. On Sunday, police used water cannon to disperse hundreds of protesters outside the Central Election Commission, where they had been demanding a new poll. Al Jazeera's Robin Frostier Walker reports from Tbilisi, Georgia.
Georgian politics is back on the streets just days after a parliamentary election which opposition parties claim was rigged. The opposition has promised to boycott parliament until new elections are held.
It's not a good decision by us. We don't like the decision. For European Georgia, participating in democratic institutions is a crucial value. But sometimes you have the choice between bad choice and even worse choice. So entering the parliament in these circumstances could be endorsing the nihilism towards a chance of free elections.
The governing Georgian Dream Party picked up almost 50% of the vote on October the 31st, dashing hopes by opposition parties that they would win enough seats to form a coalition. They say there is evidence the Central Election Commission manipulated the result by 10% in the government's favour. The dispute turned violent on Sunday. Police used water cannon on protesters who'd called for the head of the Election Commission to resign. The government said police acted lawfully. 19 people were arrested.
I would like to thank law enforcement for acting safely and using restraint to prevent an assault on a state institution. Friends, we may have different political views, we may represent different political parties on different platforms, but we must remember that we all share our homeland.
The government says it is willing to hold talks, but opposition supporters say it's new elections or nothing.
Yes, we're tired. Yes, this went on for a long time, but what else can we do? I'm not going to stay home and watch my country that I love so much, and very small nation, go into decades and go back to the Soviet Union.
My friends and I are waiting for the government to come to its senses and make a decision on holding fair elections, because no one can rig the Georgian people's vote, and neither will this government.
The opposition has taken a gamble. It believes that it can keep this momentum going outside on the streets. The government is saying, come inside this building and be an effective opposition in Parliament.
Despite warnings from health officials that large gatherings are worsening the spread of coronavirus, Georgia's opposition has promised more mass rallies until its demands are met. Robin Forestier Walker, Al Jazeera, Tbilisi.
Well, before we end the news, a quick recap of our main headlines. National People's Party celebrates its first by-elections victory. President Barrow receives Kora's symphony. One-Ept Gambia shares its findings on Nyamina West and Kerjarga Ward by-election. Foggen machine launched for fumigation in Banjul. On the international scene, UN launched new Libya talks amid cautions optimism. Aung San Suu Kyi in line for second term as Myanmar votes counted. Georgia elections, protesters defy crackdown to call for a new poll. Well, that's all for this edition of the news. Do enjoy the rest of our wonderful programs. Join us tomorrow for more news. Thanks for your time.